All right, let's be real. Email subscribers go cold all the time. Newsflash, it's not you, it's not them, it's just the way it goes. Most people are just really excited about whatever got them onto your list in the first place, whether that's a freebie, a webinar, or even what you have going on during a launch. But after a couple months, their excitement fades, your emails get buried, and they just stop engaging. This is so normal. It's so natural. So the big question is, do you just let them sit there hoping they'll re-engage, or do you try to win them back? So today we're actually diving into how a re-engagement campaign for cold subscribers can be created using your podcast in a big way to re-engage them. So not only will this save you money on your email platform, but it actually will help to revive people who were already interested, right? They already raised their hand for what you do. And now all they really need is a nudge, a reminder of why they said yes to being on your email list and all of the wonderful things you have to offer. And by the way, I'm actually going to walk you through my re-engagement campaign explained. And I'm actually going to talk about it in this podcast as well. But so that you can visually see it on paper, I actually am putting it all into one easy PDF for you. And if you want that to go along with this episode and to start implementing yourself, go to podcastmarketinghub.com/re-engage. Just one word, re-engage, podcastmarketinghub.com/re-engage. And I'll go ahead and send you that PDF so that you can just easily follow along with the re-engagement campaign that I recommend. It's just really nicely laid out for you. So again, podcastmarketinghub.com/re-engage, and I'll send you that for free. All right. So first up, what makes a subscriber cold? So in general, we consider in the marketing world, someone cold after about 90 days of no engagement. So that means that they haven't opened or clicked a single email from you in that time frame. By 120 days, if they still have not engaged, they're just cold. They're frozen. At that point, it's usually best to remove them from your email list. Not because you don't care, but because you don't want to keep paying for subscribers who aren't actually interacting with your content or have intentions of coming back. And I'll also say that maybe they will come back, but if they do, they can re-engage through a new free resource or form and get on your list that way. But here's the silver lining. Most people went cold, not because they don't care, but because life got busy. They did want to hear from you, right? They got onto your email list, and at one point they wanted to hear from you, which means there's still a window of opportunity to re-engage them before they're gone for good. Now, here's where your podcast comes in. Your show is one of the warmest touch points that you have with your audience. You know this, we know this, right? Unlike a cold social media scroll, your listeners are literally tuning into your voice, your stories, your strategies, right? They're learning how you teach, how you talk, how you interact with them. And that alone is so powerful. So when you weave your podcast into a re-engagement campaign, you're not just sending them another boring, hey, are you still there email? Which I do have a couple of those emails. They're not boring, but we do have a few of those strategically placed throughout an email sequence that I would recommend. But for the most part, we're actually inviting them into something alive and valuable. So as we move into the strategy here, I want you to start to think about what can I link to that's actually interesting or engaging for people who have gone cold. And that might be a podcast focused quiz or a curated playlist of your best episodes or a certain topic that you know they'll be interested in. So that way your re-engagement emails don't feel like a chore. They don't feel bland. They don't feel like just a run of the mill. They actually feel like a gift and they feel like an invitation to re-engage. Now, I'm not going to deep dive into tech because every email service provider is very different when it comes to this, but here's what you'll want to look for. So you want to figure out a way to track inactivity, usually a tag or a status that marks subscribers as unengaged after 90 days, or you can set up a time frame. You'll also want to be prepared for simple automations that move these subscribers that are turning cold into the re-engagement sequence that you have set up when that happens at 90 days. And then finally, you also want to be able to set up a way to have a cutoff point at about 120 days that removes them if they haven't clicked or opened anything after our efforts with the re-engagement campaign. So if you're using something like Kit Active Campaign or even something like Flowdesk, you can actually just search cold subscribers in their help docs. Most of them do have a step-by-step tutorial already set up for you that you can follow. What matters is that you know the checkpoints, right? So 90 days, that's about when I like to start a re-engagement campaign. And then 120 days, that's kind of the cutoff. That's when we remove them. We get them out of your email service provider so you're no longer paying for them. Okay, so I'm actually going to bring you into a section where I explain how I structure a re-engagement campaign. And I want to say a couple things. One, this exact structure that I'm sharing with you, I have used with clients. Actually, I used it with Amy Porterfield, and we had over 60,000 people re-engage. I can't remember the time period, but it was not very long. Now, granted, she has a massive email list, right? But that should still tell you how effective a re-engagement campaign can be, even if you have 2,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers. So I highly recommend you have this set in stone, no matter how big your email list is, because as you grow, you're going to want to have this in effect. So again, I'm going to bring you through the structure of how I lay it out. But to really make this easy for you so that you have a visual representation of all of this, I've put it together in a free PDF to go along with this episode. Go ahead and grab it at podcastmarketinghub.com/reengage, and I'll send you that PDF so you can visually see everything that I'm sharing with you in the next section of this episode. So days 75 to 90, you are going to start with warm-up emails. So I recommend 3 emails in this sequence, and this is just before they hit the 90-day mark. So I like to send 2 to 3 of my best performing emails, as in like historically best performing emails. Think of these like lifelines. If they re-engage here, they don't even have to go in the official re-engagement sequence, right? So this is kind of priming them up with content we know has performed well. So all you have to do is go back, check out the emails that you've sent. I mean, you can go back as far as a year and see which ones have the best open rates, the best click-through rates. That's going to give you information into your best performing emails. And I want you to snag the best performing 3 emails. So we're talking about general emails, newsletters. We're not talking about promo emails. I want to make that distinction as well. There is one caveat to that, I will say, and that is if maybe you did like a podcast quiz promo, if one of those emails happen to perform really, really well, you can actually pull that email in here. And the reason that I do like that approach is because then we are getting them engaged with a piece of free content or like a freebie that is super engaging and going to get them excited again. Now, if they already took that quiz, you will want to somehow figure out how to tag them to make sure that you're not just like giving them a quiz that got them onto the email list, but that is something that you could figure out and you could consider doing. Otherwise, just pull, like let's say you send an email every single week that's kind of like a hodgepodge of like mine, which is strategy, personal stuff, industry insights. I mentioned my podcast episode. I would go back and I would pull my best performing newsletters from that, looking again at open rates and click-through rates. So I tend to get anywhere from 40 to like 65% open rate. So I'm going to be looking for those ones that are in the 60s. And then my click-through rate will be anywhere from like 1 to 3%, actually 1 to like 5%. So then I will also look for the ones that have the higher click-through rates. So those are things that you're going to want to look for when you're pulling these 3 emails that are, again, we start to send at the 75-day mark of them not engaging to try to kind of prime them up and get them engaged before they hit that 90-day mark. So if you send those 3 emails and they still don't engage, then they do roll into your official re-engagement campaign at 90 days. Okay, so let's talk about days 90 to 120. This is where we kind of get into 4 to 5 emails that consist and make up your re-engagement campaigns. Now, this is where we do get really intentional and we do start to use some of that language that says, we miss you, or things like that. So I'm going to walk you through the 5 emails that I like to send during this time. So number 1 is kind of the gist of like, we miss you. Here's what's new. And in that, you can share something like, maybe if you have a new quiz, maybe if you have a new free resource, a new bundle, a new podcast bundle, a new podcast playlist. So that's a great time to share that. Remember, you just give them to this front facing. You are not asking them to opt into a bundle or opt into a podcast playlist or opt into anything. They're already on your email list. Just give it to them front facing. Email number 2, I like to do update your preferences. So this gives them a chance to think to themselves, oh, I still want to hear from so-and-so, but maybe I don't want to hear her promo emails necessarily, but I do want to hear about her podcast. I do want to hear about her weekly newsletter. So it gives them an opportunity to update their preferences. I'm not going to go into tech here. Again, this is something that it varies from email service provider to email service provider. All you have to do is either go to your ESP help desk to figure out how to create and update your preferences form, or you can chat GPT it. So either way, you're going to want to figure this out. I highly recommend it. And I'm going to give you a little tidbit that I tell all of my clients to do as well that has nothing to do with necessarily this, but email health in general. So at the bottom of your email, any email you send out, you generally want to have the words update your preferences instead of unsubscribe. Okay, so what this does is it gives your email subscribers who are on your email list, who are opening your emails, it gives them the option to pick and choose what they hear from you versus just unsubscribing and having that as the main option. So it really lowers the chances of somebody unsubscribing. So that's what I want to recommend you do for all of your, any footer that you have. You can just do this as like an across the board footer. But then this specific email number 2 does talk in the body copy specifically about updating your preferences. All right. Email number 3 is all about, I'm here to help. That includes supportive resources, top episodes, maybe a freebie that will give them a really quick win, or a podcast episode that'll give them a really quick win. So be thinking, what can I do to get them a quick win? Email number 4 is going to be your last chance to stay subscribed kind of content, right? It's going to be a direct, hey, are you in? Are you out type email. It's actually really interesting to see the open numbers. And this email tends to get a lot of opens because people all of a sudden go, oh shit. Yeah, actually I do want to stay on this email list. And what do I need to do so I don't fall off? And then email number 5, if they have not opened one of your emails, if they have not engaged with any of these emails, that's your final goodbye email, right? So you remove them, but you give them a chance to resubscribe in the future. Meaning this is a really supportive one that can just be like, I'm always there. You can visit me on Instagram. You can listen to my podcast. Feel free to come back when the timing feels aligned or whatever you want to say there. All right. So in terms of this email re-engagement campaign, so this is again, they drop into this when they hit the 90-day unengaged tag or mark. They go through these 5 emails, and I would space these out about every 2 to 3 days is kind of what I recommend. It's enough to give them reminders, but not so much that it feels pushy. And then they're definitely like, I'm out. Okay. So again, space these out 2 to 3 days. You should be good. So let's have some real talk, because here's the truth. Not everyone is going to re-engage, and that's okay. Some people are really done, and it's better for your deliverability. It's better for your wallet, your revenue, to let them go, because if they aren't your ideal customer, if they aren't your ideal podcast listener, they shouldn't be there anyways. But I promise you that you will get a percentage back. And those people are gold because they've shown you that they do want to stick around. And because you re-engage them in a thoughtful way, they're actually more often really loyal listeners, and they're more loyal than before, and loyal email subscribers. I've seen a few clients not only revive hundreds, thousands of subscribers this way, but also get podcast listenership spikes, fresh quiz completions, and even sales from people who've kind of been sitting there cold for months and just needed those loving and interesting and engaging nudges. So the key takeaway is that your podcast is such a powerful way to really be the bridge here, because it makes your email feel less campaigny and more like an invitation back into your world, because you're always dropping new content, right? So it's fresh, it's relevant. And again, it kind of gets them to engage with you as a person. All right, my friend. So if your email list has people just sitting cold right now, don't panic. Don't delete them in frustration. I want you to set up this simple re-engagement campaign and use your podcast as the anchor, and just watch how many people find their way back, not only onto your email list, but to your podcast. And remember, cold subscribers aren't the end of the world. They're just an opportunity to refine, reinvite, and reconnect. All right, just a reminder that I know I brought you through this sequence and what I recommend doing. I've laid this out in a really easy to read PDF. I'm giving it to you for free. So you can head to podcastmarketinghub.com/re-engage and I will send that PDF to you. No strings attached. Hopefully it supports you in setting this up and crafting it and getting it started. Because at the end of the day, another nice piece to this is you can set this re-engagement campaign and you don't really have to fuss with it much more. Like you can set it up and then it's there and it's just kind of this like fail safe, right? It's a net to catch those who still want to be on your email list, but just need the nudge. So if you found this helpful, please take a second to subscribe or follow to the show. Share the episode with a fellow podcaster or marketer or friend who is ready to revive their email list. And I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review. It would mean the world to me. I read through these. I love them so much. And until next time, I will see you next week. And I can't wait to continue to support you on this journey.